Okay. So now that we've reached this point of the assignment and I'm asking you guys to annotate a reading, I wanted to pause for a minute and make sure that we knew what we were talking about when we're annotating something. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing that you guys were going to do. We're going to click here to read, and it's going to open up a copy of the document, Who's the Real Hero? So as we're reading this document, we're going to go through and just like our directions say, we're going to be annotating the text to look for the ways that the author defines heroism and what traits he's listing as heroic. And you guys know that when you're annotating, you're not only looking to answer those few questions, you're also going through and defining any words you don't know, you're putting down any questions you might have, and you're summarizing anything that you think you need to summarize. So let's go ahead and read the first couple of paragraphs together and see what we can come up with in terms of how we're annotating. So we're reading Who's the Real Hero by StudySync, which was written in 2018. And this is a compare-contrast style essay. So we have one pro section here and a con section here. So let's go ahead and get started. Pro, heroes should be extraordinary. It is tiresome to read yet another newspaper story about a hometown hero. The track star who runs like the wind is a hero. The woman who saved her dog from the pond is a hero. Even a dog can be designated a hero, come to think of it. You know what? I don't know what designated means, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight it and right click and have it define designated to me. Okay, that's to appoint someone in a specified position. He was designated the prime minister. So I'm going to go ahead and add my definition here so I don't have to look it up again in the future. So to designate someone is to appoint someone to a role. Let's say that. And it looks like I spelled a point wrong. So designated a hero. Okay, now we know what that means. The poor dogs bark when the smoke alarm beeps. That doesn't seem heroic. That's more about self-preservation. Okay, so now I can also tell that the author doesn't think self-preservation is heroism. That's one of the ways the author is defining heroism, so I think that's worthy of mentioning. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and keep reading. Read paragraph 2, or read paragraph 3. I'd probably go ahead and define merely and charitable there too. Now we're getting into some mention of who these heroes might be. Excuse me. We learn about Rosa Parks. She risked her freedom to help others gain theirs. Stephen Hawking was a hero. Salvatore Ginta is a hero. He risked his life to save members in his army squad. Okay. So I can tell that the author thinks risking your life, risking your freedom, that's an act of heroism. So I'm going to say risking your life or your personal freedom can be considered heroic. And I have a wonder there too. What else could I consider heroic for a regular person? So I'm just adding all of these thoughts, all of these wonders that I have in here. And, I keep reading, and I'm just going to go over the very basics. I want you guys to do a more dense job than this, but, we reading, we get all the way to the end, and then, look, here it is. He defines these two types of heroism. A true hero should make us want to be better than we are, and the ordinary hero gives us something to live up to that's achievable and real. So, here the author is defining the several types of heroism that he believes to be true. So now, when I go back and read this article later, if I was ever asked to write anything about it, I would have all of these notes in here already. I would already have my difficult terms defined, and I would have some examples of what the author thought was an actual example of a hero. So when you guys go ahead and read this, I want you guys to make a similar amount of notes. Go ahead and see if you can find one or two things for each paragraph that you think you might want to come back to later. All right, good luck.